In watching this season's 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After, it occurs to me that there are two stories which are very similar and they really parallel one another. We're talking about two middle-aged women who have traveled to Nigeria to try to gain fiancés or get married to gentlemen, and as a result, they have developed relationships in which they have become extremely abusive. Hi, my name is James, and this is my take on reality. Now, before we get started, I like to ask everybody who's not subscribed to think about subscribing to the channel. It really helps the channel out, and it helps me out. So you can actually help a brother out with the HBO special and hit that subscribe button. Thanks a lot. Let's get it. Now, before we get started, let's come up with a foundational understanding and definition of what exactly it is we're talking about. When I refer to domestic abuse, domestic violence, interpersonal violence, or interpersonal abuse, what I'm referring to is the systematic pattern to assert power and control from one partner to another partner. The tools of that pattern can include emotional abuse, sexual, physical, or psychological violence. In these particular instances, we see all of these things manifest themselves, especially the emotional and psychological as well as the physical abuse with these two ladies. Now, what are the cycles of this abuse? The cycles can be broken down into four basic rudimentary cycles. The first is there's tension. There's a tension that boils up. The second is there's an incident, the explosion that happens, whether it's a drink in the face, cake in the face, or whatever the case may be. The third would be the reconciliation. That's where they go back and apologize and gaslight and tell them they'll never do it again and it'll be different next time and all that. Then the fourth, of course, is the calm afterwards. This is the time when they're peaceful. They usually go back and have relations. In Usman's case with Kim, he gives her the yammy, and in Michael's case, he does whatever him and Angela do, and everything is forgotten until they wash, rinse, and repeat. Now, let's give a quick disclaimer before we actually get involved with this. First, legal disclaimer, I don't know any of these people, and I'm merely commenting on the characters that I see on the show and the information that's presented to me as a viewer. Now, as far as who's at fault and who's to blame, when push comes down to shove, there's nobody in this situation with clean hands. The women obviously have issues and problems because they're exerting physical force, psychological, emotional, and in many cases economic force to try to gain control and power over their partners. But at the same time, these partners, Michael and Usman, are using Kim and Angela so that they can get here to America. In Michael's case, so he can pursue whatever it is he wants to pursue. In Usman's case, he wants to start a music career, and this is his way of doing that. Secondly, both are getting money or getting some advantage from their paramour. So in Michael's case, he's literally getting checks from Angela, and that she's paying for his apartment or his house, she's paying for his car, she's giving him pocket money, so on and so forth, paying for his phone, all that. There's no way, both guys, Usman and Michael, have made it a point to say that here in Nigeria, men are the leaders. Here in Nigeria, we are the boss of the house. And they always make it a point to say that they are the patriarch, that they are in charge. But then they turn right around and allow these women to abuse them, which is contradictory to the very statement that they're making, which tells me that they know they're using these women and they get a benefit from having these women around. And in order for them to continue getting that benefit, they have to continue allowing the abuse to happen. On the other side of that, the women know that they're being used. First and foremost, in both cases, Angela and Kim, they've had family and friends call them out. And I think in both cases, I know in Angela's cases, she's even had a lawyer tell her, basically, this guy is using you and you're going to get used. If you bring him to the country, you're going to be responsible and he's going to use you, and whatever happens, happens. But James, they disagree with them and they tell him, no, it's not true. It's true, they do deny it to their family and friends. However, let's not lose sight of the fact that when they talk to Usman or Michael and they get into an argument, the first thing they bring up is all the things that they are doing for them, all the money that they're paying, all the sacrifices they made, everything that they're doing in order to sustain their life and bring them to the country, and all the things that they're going to benefit from as long as they're in their life. And more importantly, all the things they're going to lose if Kim or Angela leaves. Because if you didn't know that the guys were using you for this thing, you couldn't use that as a lever against them and throw it in their face when you have disagreements. I also think that part of the reason why when the family and friends come and try to tell them this information, that they also deny knowing about it or deny that this is what's going on and say that it's really true love and all that, is because essentially they're embarrassed. They're embarrassed at the fact that people are recognizing and pointing the game out, so they deny it. Now, there's also a point where in both cases, both women claim to have a history of abuse. They claim that they hadn't been in relationships for a long period of time between the time that they'd either broke up with their husbands because both had been married before, and according to both women, they were experiencing victims of very abusive situations in their marriages and in their relationships. They're both people who see their Nigerian counterparts as and treat them more as property or something to be owned and controlled, as opposed to partners and somebody that they want to grow and develop a life with. And sitting here thinking about it, I was looking at the reasons behind why these women started acting out. In Angela's case, she smashed cake in Michael's face because he had been on a boat before and there were some women there. She went and tore his house up and his car up because he has an Instagram account and he's on social media and she doesn't like it. Kim, in her case, she threw a milkshake on Usman because she didn't like a comment that he had. These are simple things. These are basic things. Both women, even though Michael is married to Angela, they've never lived together. They've never spent a substantial amount of time together. Their emotional, physical, psychological investment can't be that deep because, frankly, they really don't even know each other very well. Usman and Kim, they're basically strangers. They may be going out and seeing each other physically 3 or 4 times at best. I think this is maybe the 3rd or 4th time that the two of them have actually been in the same room with each other for a protracted amount of time. And already, she's starting to act out physically. This just shows me and tells me that given the opportunity, when they encounter real problems and real issues, the depth and breadth of their violence is going to be far more severe. And this is part of the reason why I don't believe in giving them breaks. I don't believe in cutting them slack because they feel like they're being used. They're fully aware that they're being used. They're fully aware of what's going on. And frankly, I think they like being used in this form and fashion because it gives them an element of control. Now, part of the reason why I bring up the whole concept of their history of violence is because that opens the door of normalization, because they have environmental conditioning. Because if you grow up in a situation or you develop in a situation where you have a romantic situation with someone and you are constantly being physically, emotionally, sexually, or psychologically abused by that individual, you think that this is how relationships work. This actually becomes a little ironic because in patriarchal societies, men would be the ones traditionally doing a lot of these things, trying to control women. Oh, you have to stay home so I can control the dollar and the money that comes into the house so that way I can assert control over you. I control the property. So if you ever think about leaving me, you have to leave with nothing. When Angela went out to Nigeria, basically she did that to Michael. She wanted to strip him of all the things that she gave him so that when she left, she was leaving him with nothing. Kim is struggling a little more because Usman isn't 100% reliant on her for the economics yet. I'd be willing to bet she's sending him money, but I don't think that his bills are 100% being paid by solely Kim. I will say in Kim's case, Kim, like I talked about in one of the previous videos, Kim is using Usman's desire to have a second wife to become a tag team or partner in abuse with Usman against his second and possibly third wife or future wives. She wants to be the best wife who gets all the love, the wife who gets everything, and that other wife gets nothing. So technically, even if she can't be the chief abuser, she'll at least be the partner abuser. This is also part of the reason why they both should seek help so that they can get past it, because all they're doing is they're just changing out players. So in Angela's case, if she starts dating the gentleman from Canada, it will be the same situation. She started out with Michael, she was lovey-dovey with Michael, then all of a sudden, as soon as she felt like she was losing control and she couldn't control every aspect of his life, she started to turn on him, and that's when she started to become violent. Usually when these women start to become violent and they start lashing out is because they feel that loss of control. They feel like they don't have as much power, so they try to exert themselves physically in order to regain that power and control. Now, finally, I'm going to talk about the privilege that I see between these two ladies. I'm going to address Kim first. Kim is standing there getting in arguments with Usman, and she's explaining what happened during the course of the event and why she got violent. She stood there and lied about what happened. It was almost like she was talking to the police and she was telling the police a story like, oh, well, he wouldn't let me talk and it's his fault and I was just trying to be innocent and understanding and he wouldn't let me think. Ironically, Kim is telling this story and Kim acts out and throws drinks in his face and acts physically violent towards Usman with at least 3 guys standing around with 30-pound cameras on their shoulders. That is privilege. Usually when abuse happens, nobody knows about it because people will take them home, or they typically do it in private, and they try to project or portray that their relationship is perfect and everything is great. It's very rare or very seldom that you see a person, man or woman, who will abuse somebody in public in front of witnesses, especially when those witnesses are standing there holding 30-pound cameras on their shoulders, and there's a guy with a boom mic standing there recording the whole thing. Now, when we talk about privilege and Angela takes privilege to the whole next level. Angela is planning to go to Nigeria and commit crimes. And when she commits crimes, I can almost see like somebody saying, hey, you know, I'm going to go out, my husband or my boyfriend is mistreating me, so I'm going to go out and I'm going to vandalize his car, just like in the country music and the country songs I listen to, the pop songs. You know, I threw a window brick through your car and all that stuff, and I plan on doing that. I've never heard somebody say, yeah, and then when the police show up and I busted all his windows out, I'm going to hand them up. Like, no, when the police showing up, you going to jail. So there's no way you're getting out of it. The idea that you're going to talk to the police is nothing but privilege. That's like being a bank robber saying, hey guys, don't worry about it. I got a 4-man team. We're going to go in there and hit this bank. And when the cops show up, guess what, y'all? I bought 2 Monopoly board games. And in each game, I got a get out of jail free card, both for the community property and chance. Guess what, y'all? We each get a get out of jail free card. So when the cops come and try to talk to us, we're going to hand them the card and we're going to walk out with the money. And they start high-fiving each other. Like, you guys are all going to jail. My name is James. This has been my take on reality. And I'm out.
'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCA.